Hi, my name is Phoenix Kenny. Thank you for your interest in my research and for watching this short video supplement to my poster submission. This poster displays the research I conducted for my master's dissertation from the University of Cambridge, where I was a member of their Faculty of Education. My considerations for this project began in fall of 2019, and I submitted in late summer 2020. So as the title suggests, this is a case study into what I call the Earthquake Relief Youth Partnership, or the ERYP. And that was a coalition made up of 4 youth-led organizations in the Kathmandu Valley in response to the earthquake that struck the nation of Nepal on April 25th, 2015. Now, each of these 4 organizations, which I include a graphic on the left-hand side, each of these organizations were active in Kathmandu, some since as early as 2009. And they each had their own area of expertise. For example, one organization focused on developing skillful youth entrepreneurship, and another focused on improving both knowledge of and access to adolescent reproductive and sexual health care. They all took a peer-led approach, offering youth-led trainings, and ultimately wanted to have an impact on a future Nepal that would benefit from and value youth leadership. So in that, after the earthquake, these organizations came together to create their own supportive network for both their members and their beneficiaries. They wanted to aid young people who were affected by the earthquake in Kathmandu. And by looking into this partnership, I could find the ways that young Nepalis not only got involved in response and reconstruction, but the ways that they took charge. And I decided to use social media as my main source of data because these organizations were themselves maintaining these profiles, and they were posting in their own words the projects and the activities they were leading. This showed me where they put value and what they deemed themselves to be most important. Social media in that regard is different from traditional forms of media, because again, it is being co-constructed along a two-way channel of communication, so between both creator and consumer. And considering this idea of consumption, my role as researcher and my role as a consumer of social media was a blurred delineation. My methods really began as closely as I could to kind of the normal pattern of behavior on social media. I scrolled. Then, after I got this kind of general lay of the land, that was when I began my very systematic data collection, organization analysis. I had a system of codes where I could categorize each post. I was also counting the numbers of likes, shares, and comments, again, kind of along that two-way channel of communication. The majority of my data came from the biggest sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But a couple of the organizations also had YouTube channels that they were posting videos to. One had a podcast that they posted on SoundCloud, and another wrote a blog on Blogspot. So this gave me a variety of text, images, graphics, and video data to pull from. So after I went through all of these sites and I organized my data, I first saw kind of the importance of time. And this relates to the image in that middle column that I title as my findings. So I created a timeline from immediate to intermediate to follow-up response activities. And there was some overlap, but I could pretty clearly note about 6 weeks post-earthquake, and then again about 2 to 3 months post-earthquake, where the type of youth-led activities that were being discussed on social media changed. So at first, all the posts were about supplies, collection, distribution points, as well as calling for the items that were the most important. And that kind of first response was informed through needs assessment. So young people themselves were going into their communities to find out what supplies were the most crucial, where those supplies were most needed. Later, however, as kind of the environment stabilized, again, kind of about 6 weeks post, the conversation started to change towards the organizations asking themselves how they could start to respond better. So this was coming through evaluative exercises. The organizations were themselves getting together and reflecting on the activities they were putting out, as well as considering future scenarios. This led to the development of some community preparedness education curriculum, and those activities continued much longer after the quake. The ERYP formally was disbanded in December of 2015, where there's this gathering with photos shared on Facebook. And so the bulk of my data is kind of within that 6 to 8 month period, but I did continue to collect data after that dissolution, all the way up even until 2019. This gave me some insight into how the organizations reflected on this partnership, and I often saw this in anniversary type posts. For example, on April 25th, 2016, they reflected a year ago what has happened, what has changed. And again, even up until April 25th, 2019, there was still that annual moment of reflection. So in conclusion, I wanted to showcase my findings as an example, as a case of positive social media use among young people, and showing how it inspired growth at various levels, from the individual to the collective, even having ripple effects in the national reconstruction efforts. My findings were very bound, time, space, and to the context of Nepal. Yet I think about the context of this project being conducted during the coronavirus pandemic, and I hope that in those considerations, we can have a more nuanced conversation about social media and the role it can play. Social media has always experienced rapid growth, but in this timeline of my own research, 2019 into 2020, there was a proliferation of digital business, digital education, as well as socialization, as many places went into lockdown or some degree of shutdown. And now I look forward to moving my own research forward and continuing to question the role of social media, and really thinking about the way it may inspire a sense of global citizenship among young people, aligning with a target under Goal 4 in the Sustainable Development Goal Agenda. That's where I have my sights set on future projects. If you have any questions about this one, or where I plan to go next, or if you just want to connect further, I look forward to hearing from you. I've included my email in the bottom left-hand corner of the poster, so please feel free to reach out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this conference.